Good morning, scholars. Welcome back to our online school. I hope that you've had a wonderful and restful spring break with your family and that you had a really great Easter weekend. I'm excited to have you all back, and I can't wait to get in touch with all of you again and help support you in whatever ways that you need. We are jumping back into our writing lessons today. So, the last week before spring break, we were working on different forms of punctuations. We were working on usage of commas, we were working on quotation marks, exclamation points, question marks. And now today, we're going to jump into sentence structure. So, thinking about how do we actually write a sentence, a complete, good, strong sentence? What are the parts of a sentence? So today we're going to learn about the two main parts of a sentence, which are the subject and the predicate. We're going to watch a quick video. It's a little bit old. Now, I remember this video from when I was a kid, so it's a little old, but it still teaches the same thing. This is a Schoolhouse Rock video, and it's going to tell us a little bit more about subjects and predicates. So we're going to watch this video together.
This is the tale of Mr. Morton. Mr. Morton is who? He is the subject of our tale, and the predicate tells what Mr. Morton must do. Mr. Morton walked down the street. Mr. Morton walked. Mr. Morton talked to his cat. Mr. Morton talked. Hello, cat. You look good. Mr. Morton was lonely. Mr. Morton was. Mr. Morton is the subject of the sentence, and what the predicate says he does.
So right there, it just said Mr. Morton is the subject of the sentence, and the predicate says what he does. So keep that in mind as we talk more about subject and predicate. Subject is the person or the thing that the sentence is about. The predicate tells what they do.
Mr. Morton knew just one girl. Mr. Morton knew. Mr. Morton grew flowers for Pearl. Mr. Morton grew. Mr. Morton was very shy. Mr. Morton was. Mr. Morton is the subject of the sentence, and what the predicate says he does. The subject is a noun. That's a person, place, or thing. It's who or what the sentence is about. And the predicate is the verb. That's the action word that gets this subject up and out. Mr. Morton wrote Pearl a poem. Mr. Morton wrote. Pearl replied in the afternoon. Pearl replied by a note. Mr. Morton was very nervous. Mr. Morton was. Mr. Morton is the subject of the sentence, and what the predicate says he does. The cat stretched, the sun beat down, a neighbor chased his kid. Come here, kid, come on. Each sentence is completed when you know what the subject did. Mr. Morton knocked on her door. Mr. Morton knocked. Mr. Morton sat on her porch. Yes, he just sat there and rocked. Mr. Morton was a nervous man. When she opened up the door, he ran. Mr. Morton climbed up his stairs. Mr. Morton climbed. Mr. Morton rhymed pretty words. Mr. Morton rhymed. Mr. Morton was lonely. Mr. Morton was until Pearl showed up with a single rose. Who says women can't propose? Now Mr. Morton is happy, and Pearl and the cat are too. They're the subject of the sentence, and what the predicate says they do.
All right, so again, we see that last example, the Mortons. Now they're married, so their last name is the same. The Mortons, that's the subject of this sentence, and lived happily ever after. Lived happily ever after tells us what they did. That's the predicate. We're going to take a look at some of our examples now. I'm going to move my video back all the way down here. Great. Okay, so we have our first example here. And it says, Miss Vega drives to school. In this sentence, we see that Miss Vega is the subject of this sentence, and drives to school is the predicate. So Miss Metz underlined the predicate here, what Miss Vega does. Think of it as the noun and the verb. If those are words that you know, noun and verb, every sentence has to have a noun and some kind of a verb. So we have Miss Vega as the noun. Drives is the verb. She drives to school. In our work today, in your composition book, you're going to be writing down these sentences that I have here, and your direction is to underline the predicate. You're going to underline the what? The predicate. Good. So we're going to identify the subject and the predicate. We're going to underline that predicate. Here's our first sentence that we're going to work on together. It says, Araceli walks to the park. Now, who's our subject in this sentence? If you said Araceli, you're right. Araceli is the person or the thing, the who or the what that we are focusing on. The predicate here is what Araceli does. She walks to the park. So if we were going to underline here, we are underlining walks to the park. When you're ready to move on, we'll take a look at our second sentence. This sentence says, Michaela has 2 quarters and a nickel. Who's our subject? Who or what is our subject in this sentence? If you said Michaela, you are correct. Michaela is the subject here. And it says Michaela has 2 quarters and a nickel. Now, this one's a little tricky because has isn't really an action word. Normally, when we think about verbs, we're thinking about action words like jumped, ran, walked, went. But has actually is a verb. So this can be part of our predicate. Has 2 quarters and a nickel. So we can go ahead and we can underline our predicate there. Michaela has 2 quarters and a nickel. Let's move to our next example. It says, Brandon and Genesee pick apple slices as their snack. Think about who or whom are the subjects here, because sometimes we might have more than one subject in a sentence if their predicate is the same. Yeah, we actually have 2 subjects here. So we have Brandon and Genesee. They're both the subjects of this sentence. Just like when we talked about the Mortons as a family, Brandon and Genesee are the subjects. Now, their predicate, there's just one predicate here. They both pick apple slices as their snack. So think about what part of this sentence you will need to underline. Great. We're underlining that whole part of the sentence, the predicate. Pick apple slices as their snack. Great job keeping up. We're going to move on to the next sentence. This sentence says, Josue jumped in the puddle. You should be able to do this one on your own now, being able to identify the subject in this sentence and the predicate. When you're ready, you can press play on the video so that you can check your work with my work. Great, so the subject here is Josue, and the predicate is jumped. He jumped what? In the puddle. Jumped in the puddle. Great job. Let's get ready to move on. The next sentence says, Catherine's mom bought her a new toy. You can probably do this one on your own as well, but if you need Miss Metz's help, that's okay too. You can keep playing the video. If you do not need my help, you can pause it and work on this on your own. Now, this one tricked me at first because I saw the name Catherine and I thought, oh, Catherine must be the subject of the sentence. But as I kept reading the sentence, I saw it actually says Catherine's mom. So who did the action here? Catherine's mom. She's the one who bought what? The new toy. So this time, our subject is Catherine's mom. And our predicate is bought her a new toy. Sometimes we see someone else's name in front of a pronoun or another noun because they're possessive. So what that means is that this mom belongs to Catherine. It's Catherine's mom. Instead of just saying mom bought her a new toy, well, we wouldn't know whose mom it is. So we say that it's Catherine's mom. And that's the whole subject, Catherine's mom. Great, we're going to move on to our next sentence. They are having a competition. Now, we don't see any names in this sentence, but there's still a subject at the beginning here. The subject in this sentence is they. That could be two different people. That could be a group of people. It could be a family. It could be a whole classroom. They is a pronoun that talks about many people in a group. So they are the subject of the sentence. Are having a competition. That whole section, the verb are having a competition. That's our predicate. Let's go ahead and move on to our next sentence. Now, sometimes we'll see sentences where people are not the subject, but things are the subject. That's why we say who or what, because sometimes it might be a what, it might be a thing. So in this example here, we see that our subject is the tree. But that's not a person. It can still be the subject of a sentence because it can still do something. There can still be a verb that goes with this noun. The tree fell over in the wind. So the tree did what? The tree fell over in the wind. So I can go ahead and underline that part. The tree, subject, fell over in the wind, predicate. Now, you can probably use that example that we just did about the tree to help you with our next example. The glass vase broke. This one is a little trickier with the subject because there's a word that describes the subject here. So Miss Metz is going to show you what I thought at first. At first I thought the glass was the subject. Do you see why I'm wrong? I'm wrong because the glass vase is the subject. The whole subject is the glass vase. Glass describes the vase. That's what it's made out of. And the only predicate here is broke. It just broke. The glass vase, subject, broke, predicate. We'll move to our next example. This one says, my coffee spilled on my shirt. This one you can definitely do on your own in your composition book and press play to check your answer when you're ready. Spilled on my shirt is the predicate here. My coffee is the subject. Now, this didn't happen today, but it happens to me a lot when my coffee spills. Luckily, it's not that hot when it spills on me. All right, our next section of work has a different set of directions. So it says, write your own subject or predicate. So each of these 4 sentences is either missing a subject or it's missing a predicate. So you're going to fill in the blank. Are you adding a subject or are you adding a predicate? Who or what? Or what they are doing. Ms. Metz is going to go get her charger because my battery is about to die. And while I go get my charger to plug in my computer, you're going to work on these 4 sentences here. When I come back, I'm going to let you know what your writing prompt is for today. All right, friends. If you need more time, pause the video so that you can finish these 4 sentences. But if you're ready to move on, you can listen to me finish explaining these 4 and then share the writing prompt. So the first one, you could have had any subject, probably a name of someone. For the second one, you should have added a predicate for what Aiden and his brother do. The third one is a predicate for the basketball, so thinking about what might a basketball do. And the fourth one is a subject. Now, this one's not going to be someone's name. This would be a thing, something that can spill. So it might be my soda or my water spilled everywhere. Lastly, we have our independent work for today. So obviously our main goal for today is to focus on writing sentences that have a subject and a predicate. So your prompt for today is to write a personal narrative about a trip you took. Now, it doesn't have to be a big trip where you went somewhere far. If you have not been somewhere far, you can do a small trip, like maybe a trip to the park or to the grocery store or to your uncle's house. Or it can be a big trip, like maybe you went to El Salvador or Mexico or wherever. So, write a personal narrative about a trip you took. So this should be a true story about your life that you're telling from your point of view. You're going to be sure to write all sentences with a subject and a predicate. So for example, your first sentence might say, my family and I, that's your subject, took a trip to Guadalajara last summer. That's your predicate. Also, I'm going to push you to work on your quill lessons. If you don't have a computer or your teacher doesn't have quill set up yet for you, that's totally okay. Just work on your writing prompt. But if you want that extra practice, you have quill for you. That's all that I have for you guys today. I hope you learned a lot about sentence structure, and tomorrow we're going to continue our work on sentences. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.